Live from the Scripps Studios, this is 10 News.
There is a big mess in National City where a portion of a residential street has buckled, forcing crews to shut down traffic. Good evening. I'm Steve Atkinson.
And I'm Lindsay Pena. 10 News has learned the source of the problem is a corroded water pipe. 10 News reporter Cassie Carlisle is joining us. And Cassie, is there any word on when the road might reopen?
We have no word as of yet, but we have promising news. National City just showed up. They've got about 4 men over there who are looking at the issue. We actually have another City of San Diego truck that also just pulled up in the last 2 minutes. Now, neighbors are telling me that they aren't affected by water or gas issues, thankfully, but they say that the road was closed last night around 7 p.m. We're on the 1700 block of Rachel Avenue. And let's show you what it looked like a little bit earlier today. Now, neighbors tell me that the road slumped next to the concrete, and they say that area has been an issue for years, as whenever they drive through, they hit that bump where the concrete is, and it's pretty loud. It's a little rattling for the people who live here. Now, one person thinks that it's the rain that made this issue worse. Now, when we spoke with National City earlier, they say that it's a corroded water pipe, but when San Diego City Water came out here, they tested the water on one of the neighbors' homes, and they said that it wasn't a water issue. No matter what the issue is, neighbors out here just say that they want to get it fixed.
Well, I hope they fix it really soon and they get, back on track on that, because nobody's gonna be happy with that right now. And I don't know how long is it gonna take for them to fix it.
So part of the issue is figuring out whose jurisdiction it is. As you can see, we've got National City and San Diego City representatives talking right now. So hopefully we'll have a little bit more information for you and for the neighbors out here in National City on when this road could reopen. For now, reporting live in National City, Cassie Carlisle, 10 News.
Thank you, Cassie. Service is up and running again in the North County after a man jumped in front of a train. It happened a little before 1 in Encinitas. The engineer saw a man rushing toward the train. He sounded the warning horn, but the man kept approaching, then leapt into the train's path. The man was killed. If you or someone you know needs help, please reach out to the number on your screen, 888-724-7240. Turning now to Washington and the fight over impeachment. Lawmakers in the House Judiciary Committee are in a marathon session to consider impeachment against President Trump. Democrats say he abused his power. As
ABC's Rachel Scott reports, a sharply divided Washington now braces for a full House vote before Christmas.
Committee will come to order.
The battle over impeachment triggering a blistering debate.
Our Republican colleagues are working overtime to try to convince us that we didn't see what we saw with our own eyes and we didn't hear what we heard with our own ears.
This amendment strikes Article 1 because Article 1 ignores the truth. 4 facts, 5 meetings. We've talked about it now for 3 months.
Today's hearing marks the next big step before the House votes on the articles of impeachment against the president. Democrats say the evidence is clear. Trump committed high crimes and misdemeanors, charging the president with abuse of power and obstruction of Congress.
Is any one of my colleagues willing to say that it is ever okay for a president of the United States of America to invite foreign interference in our elections? Not a single one of you has said that so far.
Democrats allege the president engaged in a pressure campaign, leveraging military aid for investigation into Joe Biden and his son. Republicans firing back, pushing to fold Hunter Biden into the narrative.
He could not resolve his own dispute with Hertz rental car over leaving cocaine and a crack pipe in the car.
I would say that the pot calling the kettle black is not something that we should do.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi pushing back against concerns that it will affect moderates in the party ahead of the 2020 election.
We are not whipping this legislation, nor do we ever whip something like this. People have to come to their own conclusions.
And if the House chooses to impeach President Trump, Republicans in the Senate are not looking to drag this out. They're looking at a possible trial of 10 days to 2 weeks with no witnesses. Rachel Scott, ABC News, Capitol Hill.
And the Trump administration says it is close to a deal with China that would scale back the trade war. According to the U.S. negotiators, the president agreed not to put another round of tariffs on Chinese products, as well as lower some other tariffs. In exchange, China would then buy more American products and increase production for intellectual property. China's negotiators have not confirmed that deal is close. That deal reportedly does not solve many of the biggest issues between the two countries.
There's dramatic new video tonight from the deadly terrorist attack in New Jersey. This video shows a police officer leaving her position of cover to help a wounded officer get away during the shootout. A different camera shows the killers opening fire while going into a Jewish market in Jersey City. 3 people inside were killed. Police say the suspects murdered a detective before driving to the store. Only one person escaped. That was also captured by the surveillance camera. He told ABC News how he got away.
I had the courage, I had the right mind. I just redirected the arm and ran out of the store.
Law enforcement officials say the attack was domestic terrorism. The suspects had posted anti-Semitic and anti-police messages online.
All right, new at 5 o'clock, a Balboa Park street performer who lured and sexually assaulted 2 underage girls will now spend 7 years in prison and have to register as a sex offender. Our tennis reporter Mimi Alcala was in the courtroom, and Mimi, when he's done with that, he might be kicked out of the country.
Yeah, Steve, we just learned this just about an hour ago. When he's all done with serving those 7 years in prison, he will likely be deported back to his home country, which is Mexico. Now, cameras were not allowed inside of the courtroom during the sentencing today, but it was extremely emotional as one of 22-year-old Luis Martinez Haas's victims addressed the court, saying she just turned 15 years old yesterday and she's never felt more lost in her life. Haas, who was a dancer, was arrested in May after police say he would approach youthful appearing females he met while performing at Balboa Park, then convince them to walk with him into isolated areas, and once he had them alone, that's when he would attack. He pleaded guilty to 3 felony sex crimes against the 2 minors in October. Both of the girls' mothers also addressed the court today, at times yelling at Haas, telling him what he did has changed their lives forever. He then apologized, saying he's remorseful and ashamed of what he did. Then the judge handed down the maximum sentence.
The girls are doing their best to overcome and be strong and move on with their lives. The hearing was exceptionally emotional, as I said, and I think that the judge acknowledged that in the sentence and what they're still going through today.
And 5 other charges that he originally faced were dismissed when he took that plea deal back in October. We're live downtown. Mimi Alcala, 10 News.
2 people are in jail accused of a burglary at the home of 2 children whose mother had just been killed 2 days before. You may remember the horrible scene last Thursday in front of a City Heights home. Police say Julia Serrano was shot execution style by the father of their 2 children. Police now tell us 2 thieves later broke into the house, stealing electronics, jewelry, and items belonging to the children. Serrano's brother, who we spoke with last week, says he caught the thieves trying to sell the stolen items at a pawn shop next door. This afternoon, police told 10 News they arrested both suspects.
A new program just kicked off to teach San Diego first responders how to communicate with people who have disabilities. As our 10 News reporter Rena Nakano explains, the goal is to prevent tense situations from escalating into violent ones.
It was the night of April 30th, 2015. San Diego police officer Neil Browder responds to a call about a man wielding a knife. No lights, no sirens, no body camera. But within 3 seconds, he fatally shoots Fridun Nihad. It turns out Nihad was an unarmed, mentally disabled man. SDPD has been questioned by the ACLU. Would this have happened if their officers had the proper training?
Proactive steps we're taking.
The ARC San Diego's Pathways to Justice seminar hopes this never happens again.
We want to help first responders have a better understanding of what it is to interact with people with intellectual and developmental disabilities.
San Diego was chosen as one of 4 cities nationwide to run this 3-step pilot program. It includes this 1-day training seminar. Then each department will create its own disability response team. Each will also hire disabled individuals as intern cadets.
That gives the officers at those stations a chance to interact face-to-face with somebody who has a disability.
So how do you deal with a situation like this? Experts say step 1 is to be patient.
Don't automatically assume that they are somebody who's drunk or somebody who's on drugs. It may just be that it takes a moment to process what you're saying to them.
And giving that person that extra moment could be the difference between life and death.
No situation's really ever going to be perfect in the field. but at least we can do our best to be proactive about training our officers the right way.
Rena Nakano, 10 News.
A group of San Diegans is suing over the attempt to expand the convention center. Now, the plan is going on the March ballot. It would raise the hotel tax to fund the expansion, along with money for homeless services and road repair. But a group called Alliance San Diego says that description of the plan that voters will see on the ballot is biased. Their lawsuit says the language has 4 violations of state law. A similar lawsuit by another group about the same issue will be heard by a judge next week.
Crews have broken ground on a project that will bring more than 6 miles of new bike paths in the Mid-City area. As 10 News reporter Marie Cornell shows us, this will give people more options when it comes to getting around.
They wanted people to have choices, but they also wanted to make it safer for everyone, whether you were riding a bike or if you were walking. Now, right behind me, this is where one of the bike paths will be built.
Okay, 1, 2, 3.
With shovels in hand, city leaders are celebrating the beginning of construction of the Georgia Meade and Landis Bikeway project. It will add more than 6.5 miles of new bikeway. This is a rendering that shows what part of this construction will look like. They'll also add crosswalks, hoping to create a safer environment for those who ride their bikes or walk in the area. Calissa Bowling is one of those.
And crossing the street here has become a very dangerous experience, and I'm very excited about what this project's going to bring for our community.
And I just feel like it's important to have bike path that's safer for cyclists.
This project will also eventually connect communities of City Heights, Kensington-Talmadge area to Normal Heights, University Heights, and North Park, which is what the second phase of this project will focus on, raising concerns about the controversial parking issue. With the added bike lanes comes the elimination of about 200 parking spaces. That part of this project won't begin until after spring of 2022. The price tag for this first phase of construction is $16 million. This is part of the $200 million effort to expand the bike network in the region. From City Heights, Marie Cornell, 10 News.